This podcast is foreign language.
Let's go kill some vampires. Welcome to the Hey Guys podcast. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and this week we watched Vampires from 1998. John Carpenter's loud, sweaty, desert dust vampire western where everyone looks dehydrated, furious, and one bad decision away from becoming a corpse. This is Carpenter's deep into his late 1990s, I'm tired, I'm angry, and I'm making films about men who smell like cigarettes era. And honestly, it kind of rules. Vampires is grimy, violent, unapologetically macho, and held together almost entirely by James Woods giving a performance so unhinged, it feels like he wandered in from a different movie and refused to leave. The vampire hunters themselves, they look like the kind of lads who'd lose a bar fight to a coke. One look at this crew and you can tell they're going to be dead in seconds. They're not formidable, they're barely functional, they roll into towns like a hangover stag do armed with crossbows and hope. And yet, the film has this dusty, pulpy charm. Carpenter shoots the desert like a frontier war zone. The vampires are feral and nasty and the whole thing feels like a grindhouse comic book come to life. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's exactly the kind of film that makes for a perfect episode. I loved this film. I loved this film. I still enjoyed watching this film this time. It was a really good rewatch.
I thought you'd gone big then. I loved this film. I was like, whoa, easy there, Tiger. I liked this film, but I liked it a lot, and a lot more than I was expecting. I think I mentioned, and you mentioned in the intro, the whole vampires versus John Carpenter's vampires, saying nobody can seem to decide what the correct name is for this film, but vampires. We'll stick with just vampires. I watched this once when it first came out. I probably watched it on like VHS or DVD around 99, 2000, and I thought it was just fine, but it just completely dropped out of my memory. And to my mind, it was, if you'd asked me, the day before yesterday, I'd be like, this was a lesser Carpenter film. The fact is, it's a middling Carpenter film, and that is not as big as a criticism as it sounds. It's kind of like saying a middling Pixar film. When you look at a Pixar list and you see a film that you really like down at like 18, and you're like, 18, what the fuck? And then you see the films that are above, you're like, oh yeah, fair enough, 18. It's kind of like that with this. It doesn't belong in the same conversation as the likes of The Thing, They Live, Big Trouble in Little China. But it also doesn't belong in the same conversation as The Ward or, what was it? What were the other bad ones he did in the 90s and early 2000s? Ghosts of Mars, etc., etc. It's very much in the middle territory.
Do you know what's funny? Take Escape from New York out of it. Mm-hmm. Of all of John Carpenter's films, of all of them, they barely ever get sequels, except for Halloween, of course.
Escape from LA.
That's why I said take away Escape from New York.
Oh, my apologies.
How is Vampires getting two sequels?
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. I had no idea it had two sequels. I mean, a big part of that, of course, is that John Carpenter wasn't directly involved.
I've seen both of them. No, I don't think John Carpenter. Look,
is there any crossover beyond the name?
Aside from having the name Vampires Los Muertos or Vampires The Turning? No.
There's
one set in Mexico, one set in Bangkok. Nothing to do with any of it.
But I guess it's the era. It's like, the most obvious comparison with this being a kind of Western vampire movie. I mean, there are two obvious comparisons.
Near Dark,
and From Dusk Till Dawn. Near Dark probably came a bit too early. Well, I don't know. It probably was the era of all the sequels. But I guess the big issue with Near Dark is that it might actually be a masterpiece. And I'm glad they left it well alone. This is actually, in terms of tone, closer to Dusk Till Dawn in terms of its pulpy tone. Yeah. Now, it does suffer from comparison to both of those films. But that's only because those films, we're probably talking about a 5-star and a 4-star film with those. Near Dark being arguably a 5-star, I'd say Dusk Till Dawn a 4. This is, spoiler alert, probably in and around a 3.
I'm still surprised.
Judged on its own merits, it's really good.
I'm still surprised that this came out after both of those films. Yes, Near Dark was the 80s, but Dusk Till Dawn was 1996. This came out after. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons. Is that the reason this film did surprisingly well, or perhaps didn't do as well as it could have? I can't decide, because obviously, culturally that was a big film From Dusk Till Dawn, and this is relatively hot off the heels of that, and it has a similar vibe. And I was, you mentioned at the end of the last episode, I was really surprised to hear this was the last film that was profitable for for Carpenter,
and the only one in the 90s, the only one. Like, that is insane. But it's one of those...
we already did the list last week, though. Aside from aside from In the Mouth of Madness, his
Mhm.
490s films we weren't fans of anyway. So
No, and in Into the Madness, if you told me that didn't do particularly well at the box office, as much as
oh,
we
I
love
get
it,
it.
you kind
I
of just
get it.
go, yeah, I get it. This is more kind of broadly entertaining. But even when you look at this box office, it's one of those weird ones. Like it did 20 million off a 20 million budget in America, which is fine. But it did surprisingly massive business abroad, especially in Japan, supposedly. It was a massive hit in Japan and went on to do huge numbers on VHS as well. And I never really caught on to the fact that this film's quite beloved as like a cult classic. But upon rewatching it now, I'm just like, oh yeah, I totally get it. Because for all its faults, of which there are myriad, there's tons to like in this film. Tons.
Gotta say as well, I said about James Woods, the whole film is predicated on James Woods. If he's not doing this film, it's not that this film doesn't get made, but this film doesn't have that weird, odd charm and charisma that it seems to have. But what I guess helps him to have that charm and charisma, or hinders, depending on how you look at it, is the supporting cast. Because most of the supporting cast, surprise, as shit. Like Daniel Baldwin as Anthony Montoya is absolutely like that guy is. I don't know. He's taking some speed and he's just walking through the
I
fucking
mean,
thing.
he looks so bloated. I don't want to be critical, but he does look like he's eaten one of the younger, weaker Baldwins. But purely aesthetically, he's actually the closest to his brother Alec. He actually looks quite like him. He's striking eyes. And I know what you mean about him objectively not being good, but I watch this film, I'm just like, I kind of liked him in this film, bizarrely. I'm not arguing against you. I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying, bizarrely, like so many other elements of this film, I kind of liked him.
I had an issue with him as well. I mean, Cheryl Lee couldn't do much, bless her. You know, she had to act like a hooker, then she had to just act stoned throughout the entire movie because
but
she's
nobody
connected.
does that better than Cheryl Lee.
No. Like I said, but she didn't have much to do, but she did what she could with the thing. But she's doing what she can, and apparently Montoya's fallen in love with her. He fell in love with her so hard. Like he went from calling her a bitch and punching her in her face to calling her sweetie and constantly just canoodling up to her. It's
underwritten.
Yeah, the only good co-star is Thomas Ian Griffith as Jan Valek. I think he's doing really well in the 4 scenes that he's in. He's doing really well in his brooding, I'm just going to walk through some sand montages he keeps doing in this film.
Yeah, well, he was maybe the biggest surprise because upon watching it initially, I remember thinking, like there's a look in my head about how vampires should and shouldn't look. Yeah. And I thought he was a bit lame. And in my head, I've kind of conflated him with, I can't remember the name of the actor, but remember the Van Helsing movie?
Yes. Yeah,
you know,
Richard Roxburgh.
Yeah, and he had like the long hair, a glance, a kind of similar vibe. And then I rewatched this film, and one of the total standouts is this dude. And I'm just like, you would never think the guy from, you know, what was it? Karate Kid 3 most famously, I suppose.
Crackerjack.
Of course, Crackerjack. You're going to bring a Crackerjack on every opportunity, aren't you?
Every time you mention, oh, well, he's the guy from Karate Kid. No, Crackerjack.
And I want to mention he's from Excessive Force and Time Cop 2, and also Crackerjack, of course.
Thank you.
But he's not an actor I have a particular fondness for by any stretch of the imagination. But I watched him in this, and he's super threatening. He gives off that kind of air of invincibility. Like, you buy him as the lead vampire. That's the important thing. It's like he's the big, important guy. And of course, part of that is his actions. But when you're in that role, you've got to have the look and you've got to have the screen presence to pull that off. And he totally does. And I absolutely forgot about that opening sequence. So you mentioned the team as being like a bunch of shithouses. I was quite excited to see Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa as basically just a dude. I was like, oh, cool, he's not playing like fucking Shang Tsung or some
Can you miss him, mind? Because he's barely in the motel scene as well.
Totally. And I was just like, all right, but I saw him in the background. I was like, oh, awesome. He'll just be like one of the guys, ace. And then the entire team, who are clearly shit at their jobs, get wiped out immediately. The one who stands out, like Anthony, because, you know, they all get out the van. Like, I'm not sure if he's trying to elicit a kind of comparison to Predator. You know, when they all get out the helicopter at the start, and you're just like, they look like a bunch of badasses. They all get out the back of the truck, and you're just like, I don't fucking know about these guys. And then as soon as the main fucking Valak, isn't it?
Valak, yeah.
Yeah. As soon as he shows up, it's awesome. But he smokes the whole team. Even before that, Anthony goes into the house, the guy who looks like a Native American. He sees a skeleton and screams. And I'm just like, dude, surely this isn't your first fucking rodeo.
They're badass killers, apparently.
Supposedly.
They've been hunting nests because a blink and you'll miss it moment is when they're in the, the motel. And the sheriff says, well, the deputy, whoever it is, how long are you staying for? I said, we've done our jobs, we're going. So they've been there like a week or something already. So I don't think this is the first nest they've taken down there. They've had hints that the master is in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're meant to be this close-knit, they've all got their chainmail collars on and the weird cross, spear, whatever thing, silver spears, whatever.
I thought those were cool, like the spears where they got lights on them and stuff. I was just like, oh, that's something a little bit different in terms of like, but I can see how it worked. I thought the winch system was like genuinely inspired. I thought, oh, this is going to be a team that got all these cool weapons.
Sorry, Rob's take. We're going to Rob's take because you said it. Fucking genuinely inspired.
I thought it was such a cool idea.
It's a cool idea.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's so impractical. How does it work? They've taken a winch in. They've taken a winch in the first time. They've shot a guy, so they've hooked it up to the crossbow. Fine, they've shot a vampire and it's gone out. Yeah. Who's bringing that back in and hooking it up to the next crossbow? What's going on with the winch system? It may be inspired, but it's so fucking impractical. They could have it's a fucking wooden farmhouse. Just knock some holes in the walls.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. I love the idea of one of the cool things about this is beyond, Thomasine Griffin as Jean Valak, who is like badass, and I love his intro. They say about like this idea that vampires in this universe aren't particularly sexy. It's like the first thing he does is eating out Cheryl Lee ostensibly, and then goes in and just smokes the whole team. I'm like, that's awesome. But I like the idea, at least, that the supporting cast, i.e. just other vampires, and I'm not talking about the mysterious 7 masters who appear out of nowhere as far as I can tell, and then just all get killed. Sure, whatever. But in this film, like, vampires are difficult to kill, which I quite like. You think to a movie like Blade and stuff like that.
Yeah, no garlic, no silver, no.
Yeah, and one hit from a knife and they just explode and stuff. In this, not only do they have to stab them with a stake, they have to stab fuck out. They shoot them to slow them down. They stab them with a pike. Then they stab them in the chest with a stake. Then they chop their heads off. Then they fucking burn the house down. Then they behead them. Then they bury their heads outside. I'm just like, it's the ultimate double tap sequence in movie history. They're just like, no, these motherfuckers are never coming back. But I thought that was cool.
What I liked as well was they didn't feel the need to then halfway through the film go, oh, by the way, Valak being the very first vampire, it's a pseudonym. He used to be called Vlad Dracul or something. No, why do we always have to go back to Dracula as being the very first vampire? I love it that they can say, no. In this universe, there's a different vampire. He is the vampire. And yes, okay, they did it like Dracula 2000, where he was crucified or whatever on a cross, but they never completed the ritual, so now he has to walk in the dark.
Well, I actually quite liked their explanation of how vampires came to be. So he's like, kind of patient zero. Yeah. And the idea of it being an inverse exorcism, sorry. So the body is destroyed, but the possessed soul remains. So you've got a dead body, but the spirit living on inside it. I was like, that's actually a pretty cool way of explaining vampirism and how it may have come to be. And of course, linking it to the church. Again, one of the side stories, because, there is a lot to like about this film. But make no mistake, the core narrative is kind of silly. It's a bit derivative at times, certainly formulaic. And the more interesting elements of the subplot, i.e. James Woods' link to the Vatican, is all completely undersold. Basically, in 2 sequences, there's like, Basil exposition. I'm going to explain James Woods' backstory as we're driving in the car in a conversation which would never happen.
I know vampires killed your parents,
yeah. And I know you did this, and I know you did that, so all right, thanks. And then James Woods kind of explains the rules of vampire in this world. The difference being, of course, James Woods could read the side of a fucking paint can and make it sound entertaining. And you alluded to it at the start. One of the reasons this movie worked, or maybe won't work for some people, is James Woods, because he is chewing the fuck out of everything in this film. Which I know he's not a vampire, you know what I mean?
Because James Woods has a reputation of being difficult on set, but John Carpenter was a fan of him on the set. They got on really well, and they had a decent deal. The deal being, we do 1 take as the script, then we do a take where James Woods can ad-lib to fuck. Do what he wants to do. And Carpenter found to his delight that many of Wood's suggestions were brilliant. So, which is funny because instantly when you read that, you pick up straight away. Well, I guarantee you, one of his going off the cuff moments was, "Tell me, Father, When I was beating the fuck out of you, did you get hard? Did you get some wood? Tell me, did you get wood? Wood? Yeah. Did you get a hard
Well,
on? Did you get a big dick? Like, what the fuck are you
we're
doing?
stepping on my least favorite. I mean, one of the criticisms of this film is that it's a touch crass, and I thought, oh, is it just going to be one of those kind of movies of its era? For the most part, I didn't actually find it particularly crass, except for the unnecessary, unfunny, running hard dick joke. And I hated the fact that the last thing you heard in this film was that terrible dick joke.
Oh, when he's going on about it being mahogany and stuff.
It was rough. It was rough. So I don't know if it's Carpenter's fault or Wood's fault, but that part of the film I genuinely disliked. I just didn't find it funny. I know. As I was saying, it was unbelievable. We should refer to him as Jack Crow, to be honest. Which is
what a name! One. Is that a decent? I said it last week. I alluded to it last episode. I said his name. Mm-hmm. Is it one of the the best action hero names, or is it a little shit?
Well, the problem is, as soon as I heard Jack Crow, I immediately thought of Jim Crow, which is the racial segregation laws in the South from the 1870s to the 1960s. So it's like, okay, if I can remove the fact that Jack Crow sounds a little bit like Jim Crow, in and of itself, I actually think it's pretty cool. And the fact and his whole look, the fact is, right, again, like the whole vampire thing, if you can't pull it off, the whole movie dies on its face. With James Woods, he can pull off a name like Jack Crow. And he can pull off the leather jacket and the whole look.
Which is the best hero name in Vampires? I'm not going to go for Vampires 3 because they didn't fucking think about it. You've got James Woods as Jack Crow. Or in Vampires Los Muertos, you have John Bon Jovi playing Derek Bliss.
That's a hell of a sentence. Yeah. Derek Bliss. No, Derek Bliss sounds like a porn star. It totally sounds like a porn star. I'm sticking with Jack Crow.
It sounds like exactly what he like. His truck in that film, if I recall, is a Jeep. It's like a beach buggy Jeep, and he has a surfboard that opens up to have all his weapons in it, a la guitar case from Desperado.
Desperado, yeah, of course.
You hear the name Derek Bliss, and you see that truck and that Jeep, and you see a surfboard, and you think, well, that fits, doesn't it?
Of course. I mean, but saying that, isn't Daniel Baldwin's name in this film Tony Montoya?
Anthony Montoya, yeah.
Yeah, but he's called Tony multiple times, so it's Tony Montoya, dude. Yeah, I mean, unsubtle to say the least. But one of the things I guess I quite liked about both of those, if we take those two as the leads, is that their looks at least have aged really well. Like when you see the whole cast at the start, I think it's Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, he dies quick, so you don't have to worry about it. He's got very 90s.
Do you know what his name is? Do you know you said he played
David?
Oh, thank you. I was hoping you wouldn't look at it, but yeah, his name is. You said he played a normal guy. He played a guy called David.
Well, you can't get much more normal than David, except for the fact it's immediately rendered not normal when it's him and he looks so Japanese. Oh,
yeah, and his name's David Dale.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Sorry, whilst I'm looking at the cast, Chad Stahelski was in this film, who now has gone on to direct every fucking action film going forward.
Yeah.
John Wick, Chad Stahelski. He was a male master.
So he was one of the
guys.
Masters.
Yeah, he was one of the vampire masters.
Yeah, right. They were like the Knights of Ren. They kind of look cool, but they came out of nowhere and didn't really do much. Like they had that great sequence when they're all sleeping underground. And when I say underground, I literally mean in the dirt. And they all come out of the ground, and it's obviously real effect, kind of physical effects. Like it must have sucked, and everyone really fussed when they did it in the fucking Odyssey. Nobody said shit when Carpenter did it for 1998's Vampires, but it looks awesome, and that is the thing. There are genuine problems with the plot, 100%. But everything in this film looks ace. I think it helps that we were both watching it on 4K. Right from the opening sequence when you're traveling over the New Mexico desert at dusk in 4K, this film looks great. The characters, as I said, James Woods' outfit with the leather jacket, the jeans, it looks cool. Daniel Baldwin. He's got something of a timeless look. I actually think Cheryl Lee looks kind of great in this film. And Cheryl Lee, I know she doesn't have much to do, but supposedly one of the reasons this movie did well and it had so much interest in it was simply because Cheryl Lee was in it. Twin Peaks was still a big deal by 1998.
Yeah.
And even though she doesn't have much to do, you can see why reading the script. He's looking, it's like, okay, she has to scream and she has to look like confused terrified and demonic at the same time. I'm like, Cheryl Lee's been doing this for 2 years on Twin Peaks already. She has got that down pat. And so she does it incredibly well in this. But to your point, she doesn't have much to do. And her relationship with Daniel Baldwin's character, Montoya, it's kind of sweet, but it comes out of absolutely nowhere. The only thing you see is like, because they're both kind of vampires, but he's a complete prick, and then all of a sudden he's all coochie-coo with her. It's quite strange.
Yeah, I really didn't get on with their relationship going that fast. I know they were trying to use her, but she wasn't really helping either. She was like some weird human sat-nav where they just had it, and she's grunting if you have to turn left or grunting if you have to turn right.
Which is okay, I suppose. What it does is it removes the need for like narrative explanations. Like, how are they getting close? Like, he doesn't even go out of his way. It's just like they show up and they just have her grunt. You're like, okay, Cheryl Lee got to see her. So it kind of works. It's just a shame that if you get her there, you could have given her more to do rather than laying on a bed butt naked. And I don't care that Daniel Baldwin or Montoya explained why she was nude or why he took her clothes off. To tie her up naked on the bed, I was just like, that's quite egregious, dude. There's absolutely no
I have
need
no
for
idea
this.
why he had to do that. Yeah, and the way, like, it felt so icky when he's on top of her. Like, he's put his entire body weight on top of her, and he's got his hand on her mouth, and he's like, "You scream, it's gonna be an issue." Mate,
And it doesn't help that, as you mentioned in the intro, this is an incredibly sweaty movie. So everything is bathed in an orange glow by cinematographer Gary B. Kibb, I think his name is. I don't think it's quite at the top of the list. So when I think of, the kind of elite sweaty films, and we've had a few recently on the podcast, I think Top Gun, I think Predator 2, I mentioned it recently because I watched 12 Angry Men, Do the Right Thing, which we haven't covered on the podcast, might actually be the sweatiest film. The sweat is actually a character in that film. I don't think it's quite in that category, but this is still a sweaty motherfucker. And it doesn't help with sequences like that, because you just look at Daniel Baldwin, you're just like, that motherfucker sweats. He sweats for sure. But I didn't buy their relationship, sadly, as much as I actually quite like their individual performances, but it is what it is.
You were saying then about how it was shot, like the bleached colors, the harsh light, and like the way it shot all that grimy violence and stuff. Did you think that was good though, or was it a bit too much? Like, there was quite a bit of lens flare that was starting to get a bit much.
See, I had a different issue. I didn't mind the color palette. It's a little bit of his time, but I didn't mind it. I like the wide shots. I thought, as always, John Carpenter does have an eye, and I think he's working. In fairness, Gary B. Kibb's previous, work as a cinematography with specifically John Carpenter is a bit mixed. So he did They Live, yay, but he also did Escape from LA, boo. So this sits somewhere in the middle in terms of quality. What I had an issue with is, say, one of the best sequences in the film is when Valak comes to the hotel room, and the first thing he does is, what's the name of the actor who he absolutely, Mark Boone Jr. He did not die well, and you get
Bobby Elvis.
And you get
he doesn't die well with any vampire, does he? 30 Days of Night, they fucked him up.
Oh, they did, yes, a great shot. He's in so many films, but when he puts his hand through the side of his chest, like basically cuts him in half, it looks amazing. Something we'll get to in a minute, the physical effects. But then he goes to the room and just cleans house. I do think that sequence needed the equivalent of, say, I don't know, a Drew Barrymore in Scream. I think if you have a massive star and they can just get him in for one day and he gets smoked, I think the whole team being killed.
What are you saying? They had Mark Boone Jr.
Sorry, my apologies.
Scar from The Quick and the Dead.
I think what we're all is executive decision. If you had, and you wouldn't looked out of place, if you had, you know what I'm going for here, don't you?
Go on, say it.
No.
No, because I don't know what you're saying. You can't be off guard.
You've seen executive decision, haven't you?
Oh, you mean the Steven Seagal moment?
Yeah. So if you had Steven Seagal,
I thought you were saying somebody like Steven Seagal. I didn't think.
No, sorry, I apologize. Sorry, I was going specifically for Steven Seagal.
Okay, for Seagal, yeah.
So if you had Steven Seagal at the start of this movie, executive decision style, he's on the poster and everything, and then he gets fucking wiped out by Valak at the start, I think that whole sequence is even better. But my issue with the sequence is the way it's shot. And he uses it a few times with the action sequences where you get these weird cuts and fades. Rather than like harsher cuts, it kind of fades between characters.
Yeah.
And I think you lose the impact of the violence. And even with the stuff where you get like a few moments of like vampire vision and the screen suddenly like bleaches red, I can see what he's going for. I don't think it works perfectly well. So I think for the most part, the film looks good, but there are a few sequences where I was just like, I don't like what he's done there, where he's tried to be a touch more, experimental or stylistic.
Yeah.
Minor issue, but got there eventually. Sorry, I've left you with that dead end there.
No, because we were talking about that, and then what I love about when we talk about it, I have bullets on my notes. So I mentioned the bullets, and it usually prompts you to go on a diatribe for about 15 minutes. But then I forget what I'm going to say because you just.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
I'll. But I mean, I did like the. We said it before anyway. You've got Dusk Till Dawn, you've got Near Dark, but I do think this is one of the good vampire western tones, like fusing horror with that dusty frontier grit. You're not doing this in a city. Even the city where they stay in the plaza felt like it was, I don't know, there was a hooker tavern next door. It was
100%. Well, speaking of hookers, so when they're at the motel at the start, there appears to be a cop there, which is never explained, and he seems to be like, oh yeah, they're in town again, and we've got like what? Because it's a small town by the looks of things. We've got like every hooker in town to show up at this like motel.
Oh, they're paying that copper very well. They gave him a bag full of money. Oh, not about an envelope full of money. They've been paying him to look the other way.
So we've got to assume that the Vatican are indeed paying them extremely well if they can pay for all these prostitutes.
That's the thing as well, because you've got Jack Rowe's team, you've got the European team, you've got all these teams. The Vatican is apparently paying them well. They've got their underground vampire hunter team. All their stuff seems a little bit shit, like a hand-me-down, all their weapons and stuff like that. None of them look like they've gone through any sort of training. They're just being recruited by Jack. I mean, the Cardinal turned around and said, go recruit another team. So then he's not training them. He's just looking for guys who are, I guess, disposable. Because I can't get away. I can't get away from the fact none of that. And I'm not saying I can. I'm not going to be a vampire hunter part of this entire team. But it's different, isn't it? Because you get this team from like Blade 2, where they've been trained for life to hunt Blade. The Night Stalkers or whatever they were called. And then you've got this team who were all picked up in a local bar and said, "Do you want to kill some vampires and fuck some hookers?" It's all on the church. The church covers it.
Yeah. So sure. Yeah. I like the because the obvious comparison, because I can't think of too many films where you have like a trained team going after, like actively going after vampires. The obvious one again being Blade with Whistler, and Whistler looks like he could have belonged with this group. The difference is Whistler is clearly talented and has a reason to be involved. Whereas, like you say, with these guys, they don't seem to have any kind of like, other than the fact that they're getting paid, which maybe explains why Anthony is such a bitch. But the intro again suggests when they kind of have their little performance that they're all like these sort of badasses. But then, you even think of like the Padre at the end of the film. It's like, oh, he's like, he's been living in the church his whole life. He's completely clueless about what's going on. They put that weird collar on him. And by the end, he's kind of badass. You're like, that was a quick turnaround, wasn't it? I think it's just another one of those elements of this film where it's just poorly explained, because not only are they murdered straight away, narratively, the concept of the team is given incredibly short shrift. We get just enough to explain James Wood's motives, and I guess Baldwin is just his buddy. But
Baldwin is a pure ride or die. I mean, if there ever was one.
Totally a ride or die.
The father,
you want to yourself a friend like Baldwin in this film, damn straight.
The Father Adam Witu, whatever the fuck his surname is, played by Tim Guinea. Jesus Christ, the beard is doing a lot for that guy, because it took me a minute to realize who he was. 100%. He is in loads that we've known anyway. I mean, the same year, he's Dr. Webb in Blade. He's the one who's trying to fuck Blade's new doctor friend who gave him the cure.
Oh yeah, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
He looks genuinely incredibly different without the beast.
He's Major Allen in Iron Man, who keeps sending it was Don Cheadle to go and get the Iron Man armor, and he's like the Major saying, "I'll make him War Machine." The last thing he did was something you enjoyed, was a Horizon, an American Saga. He played a guy named James in that.
Oh God, I can't. I mean, Venice is like a bajillion characters in that film.
And then he's all over. He's all over TV. He's all over. But you know him if you see him. That's what I'm saying. But take that fucking face. Don't take his face away. Take the beard away. And geez, that beard was doing a lot. And the long hair, by the way.
Well, like you said, I didn't recognize him at all. And even when I looked onto IMDb and I saw a picture of him, I was just like, is that definitely the right guy? And he just looks so, there's the whole like Clark Kent thing. Some people, not Clark, what's the name from, oh my goodness, Elf and stuff like that. She's really pretty.
I was going to say Will Ferrell, Zoe Deschanel.
Zoe Deschanel. You see a picture of Zoe Deschanel without glasses and bangs, and it's like bewildering. You're just like,
did the world just end outside your window then?
I don't know. It must have been a bird or something, because Bryn being our cat, by the way, not just some random person in the room, just freaked the fuck out. So I guess a bird just came out and just knocked the speaker in the window.
But did you bang into shit? I thought, fuck me, like the world's ended.
It's very strange.
You get the eclipse, and all of a sudden everyone's panicking.
Yeah, just birds flying into windows. But yeah, when you see Zoe Deschanel without the bangs and without the glasses, it's like she genuinely looks like a completely different woman. And you get the same with this guy. He looks absolutely different without the beard. But he plays a pretty big part in this film. And he's fine. But again, he doesn't get enough narrative to back him up as a character. He's just like, oh, you're just playing the priest. He shows up, he delivers exposition, and then he goes. And the same could be said, there is technically a human bad guy in this, with I'm going to get his name now.
Cardinal.
The Cardinal, yes, thank you very much. Maximilian Schell, who plays Cardinal Alba, who I know from Deep Impact. I think he plays the dad in that. But he's quite good, but he gets like 2 scenes. So when you get in fairness, I didn't see the reveal come in when he shows up and he's working with Valak at the end.
Yeah, I get
that.
But
it also has 0 impact because you've talked to him like twice. I guess the whole idea is he's the stand-in for the Vatican.
Do you know what? That actually works out well then. He doesn't want the vampire hunters killing the vampires if he's made a deal with them and to become one of the vampires. Because his whole deal was to become one of Valak's new unholy army.
Well, that's why he double-crossed them.
Well, that's why he's double-crossed them, but that's why the hiring process is pick any fucking loser from a bar and not train these guys. Because he's not like, I want competent men to kill these vampires. I want incompetent men to...
Just get whoever he wants. I guess
that works out now. Oh, their hiring policy is fucked.
I'd be interested to know, actually, if this is better explained or how close this... Because this is based on a novel, isn't it? Which, by the way... one of the most perfect cases of normative determinism, a movie about vampires by somebody called John Stakely. They might as well have called him like fucking Fangy McDracula. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I don't know anything about the book. So I don't know if this is close to the book or whether it expands upon it. God knows. But you would just, it doesn't feel like, like some movies you watch and you're just like, well, this feels like it's based on a play or this feels like it's based on a novel. This doesn't feel like either of those. But maybe explains why it's a little bit messy or why sometimes characters drop in and out,
So the start of this, the start of the plot summary for the novel, Vampires Inc., the S being a $sign. So they're a business. Okay.
Brilliant.
Vampires Inc. cleans out a nest of vampires, but has some difficulty collecting their payment. They ultimately host a wild party at a local motel with all of the team and some townsfolk. The party is interrupted by a master vampire who slaughters everyone at the party with the exception of Jack Crow and his second in command, Cherry Cat Catlin.
Okay, that's different. That is definitely different.
Catlin is Mark Boone Jr.'s character.
It's obviously they do the same stuff.
Yeah, they do an homage. The Shaken Jack begins to plan the formation of a new team, aided by Father Adam, a knowledgeable young priest sent to him by the Vatican. So it looks like I don't think he's doing the work for the Vatican. It looks like he's just got his own business, but the Vatican are helping him with...
hiring him kind of thing. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, like you said, it doesn't really matter because the story is... I mean, if you kind of drill down to its component parts, it's basically chase monster before monster gets special... device that will make him more powerful. That's really the whole story. There, like you said, there's like a few subplots kind of snuck in there, but none of them really land. The love story, Jack's backstory, even
there's a lot of work they're doing for this book. I might have to read this book, but it looks like as well that there's no plot to walk in the day. It's just this master vampire is just kicking everybody's ass. It kind of looks like Jack probably dies, or maybe didn't die, but there could be a sequel.
Easy spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Just messing. Who's gonna? Nobody's this podcast. God, I wish I
was going to say, if somebody's going to come at me for a 1990 film novel of vampires based, which is
when was the book written?
1990.
90 now, okay, fair enough. But yeah, like I said, all that stuff doesn't really matter. It does, like, it basically kind of keeps it away from being a genuine classic. But, this is a movie, like, well, speaking of Desperado, which has, like, Jack Crow walking away from an explosion wearing a leather jacket, sunglasses without flinching. I genuinely think. So it's after he's cleaned out the motel and he's done all the digging. He's like, well, I've got to blow this motherfucker up. And they do the classic thing when he walks away, it explodes in the background and he doesn't flinch. And I've just got all the time in the world. I
always think of the Andy Samberg song "Cool Guys Don't Look at Explosions" when they just walk away from that like it's a fucking massive fire, and you're not even looking.
Well, there's the different examples. So the number one I still think to stay is probably Desperado. There's Iron Man does a version. It's the first Iron Man film. Creasy, there's a great one in Man on Fire. That's absolutely fantastic. No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh, fantastic, walking away from an explosion. But the realistic one, bizarrely, is actually the other guys with Will Ferrell. When it blows up and they both, it's like, no
and
way,
they're on the floor and they're going
away from that, and their ears are ringing and they're completely fucked. That's probably much more aligned with how that would go down. But of course, this movie has no interest in realism, and it comes back to like what you said about the winch system with the arrows. I was aware of that watching the film. I love the idea of it, and I think it's unique, and it's a great way, because like I said, they do go out their way to say these bastards are hard to kill unless you can get them out into the sun. So you just drag them into the sun, they explode, great. But it's just nonsensical. Somebody must have gone up to John Carpenter and said, but wait a minute, you never see the rope attached to the arrows in the first place. And if you shot one, surely it's a one and done. That's it, right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're just going to do it anyway.
They did it again at the end as well. They were like, we'll use this winch system again because it's so good. But instead, the winch takes too long. Just reverse the car. We'll do the winch, and then once you've got him hooked in, just reverse the car out and you can drag the fuckers out into the sun. Great. Okay, you've done it the first time. Great. Okay, now we have to reset. And it's made even worse, and I know they only got to do it once, but it's made even worse then because they're trying to do the lift. And they're trying to get him in the lift, get him down again. It's like, this is fucking stupid. You've got like 3 hours left of sunlight. This is awful.
Well, we'll get to that kind of final showdown, the fact that they're really dumb in that sequence. But one of the things I do like in this film, for instance, and John Carpenter specialized in this, is that at least their actions take a toll on them. Like the idea that they're not superheroes. It's like after Jack has gone back to the motel and he's had to like not fuck everyone, Jesus Christ. He's had to cut off their heads and stuff. It's like he's had a long day. It's like haggard, he looks knackered. And it's like I always think back to like They Live when Roddy Piper fights Keith David in one of the great cinematic fights, maybe the greatest hand-to-hand fight in cinema history. And I love that halfway through the fight, they just goosed. And then afterwards, you see them at the hotel and they look all busted up. It's not like they've got like that classic movie cut. They just look completely goosed. And I like the idea that at the end of this long day of trying to kill vampires, all his friends have been killed. And now he's having to cut off all their heads and bury them and explode, blah, blah, blah. And he just like, God damn it, I'm just tired. Just take a moment to show them tired on screen.
Yeah.
And again, James Woods, as cool as he is in this film, he does do Beleaguered very well. He is great in this film, but he's not like the coolest character in the film. He is cool in so much that the camera loves him and he looks great with the coat and the sunglasses, but he loses his cool all the time, which I find much more relatable.
And like I said a couple of weeks ago when we did Navy SEALs, where I thought Charlie Sheen was just being Charlie Sheen. People getting attacked. Same with James Woods. I'm pretty sure when he was just pissed off, it wasn't his character who was pissed off. It was James Woods. And at any point, that guy was going to fucking shoot you, punch you, stab you. You had to be careful with him because he would have snapped.
I can totally believe the idea that he and like Baldwin might be best friends, but also want to kill each other. Like when they're about to have a fight, I think it's outside the monastery or something, and the Padre comes over and he just absolutely manhandles him. It's not like it doesn't turn into a fight, and all he does is push him out the way. But I'm just like, he put his back into that. Because saying what you want about Baldwin, you see him in this film, I'm just like, I wouldn't fancy fighting him. He looks like he'd be an absolute fucking handful. And like, it's cool that he lasts all the way through the film, and they obviously set it. I like the idea that there could be, like, if this had been really successful, a sequel where James Woods goes on the hunt for Cheryl Lee and Baldwin, finds them, but then there's a greater threat. You could almost do like a crossover with Sinners or something. It's not a million miles away from that kind of thing. But
when Baldwin carjacked that guy as well, again, I thought that was that felt like something that's happened to one of the Baldwins in real life on, I don't know, Rodeo Drive or something. Just Alec Baldwin today carjacked some guy, and his brother went, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to use that."
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just use what you can. But they're constantly just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what will stick. It's like, we mentioned the fact that, the narrative is like Paul explained, and the characters and the history and stuff. It's the same with the supposed vampire rules. Every so often somebody just says, rule number 3, like they basically do like rule number 1, rule number 3, and rule number like fucking 10. I'm just like, wait, how many rules are there? And is anyone going to outline these? No. We're just going to use them as and when it suits to basically keep a character in line. It's all very silly, but again, quite fun and pulpy. So the film does get away with it. It's the same as I mentioned earlier, when the 7 master vampires show up and they have the is it a monastery with the monks? I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're looking for, basically they're suddenly looking for a black cross, where I'm just like, this feels like it's come out of nowhere, but sure. It feels like they keep explaining, the black cross will give him the power to walk in the sunlight. I'm just like, I feel like we've all figured this out a long time before they finish explaining it.
Because there was no explanation about why they were hunting the vampires at the beginning. They're just hunting vampires looking for the master. They couldn't find the master, which made Jack Crow a bit broody. Fine. Mm-hmm. And then he's in his truck with Father Adam. And he turns around and he goes, look at this map. Nobody else has ever seen this map. It's a search pattern. See, we figured it out. How? Why? When? What?
Yeah, what's going on? What are we talking about? And then suddenly they're just like, Black Cross, walk in the day. And then they just keep banging on about it. It's like, yeah, we get it. It's fine. If he gets the cross, he can walk in the day. We've seen this in vampire movies. It's bad news for everyone. But they just keep going back to the well. And then it's all building up to, I think it's fair to say, a slightly disappointing finale where they show up at the prison and they, like you said, they start using the winch system again. They then leave it entirely too late. They're just like, oh, dude, the sun's going down. James Wood's like, dude, we should keep going. And he's like, rule number 7, bro. It's getting dark. When they leave, the vampires show up immediately and they're just like, oh, yeah, because the sun went down, of course. Yeah. Like, you dumb any of you, good at your goddamn job.
The finale of that as well should have been over about 5 minutes before it was. Because when Montoya comes back, after his dramatic exit, and he's like his dramatic entrance then to rescue Jack, who's hooked on a cross, and he has that perfect shot with the crossbow, shoots the cross that Jack is being crucified on, drags him off. The way that dummy, stunt double, whoever, the way his neck snapped when he hit the floor and got dragged. Like, dude, cut, you're done. You've killed a guy.
It's the most violent thing in the film is when he's supposedly saving his friend and that cross gets pulled out of the ground. Like you said, the way it lands and it's got a dummy, you're just like, dude, he's dead. He is 100% dead. And he just gets off it like it's no big deal. I was like, oh, cheers, buddy. What a great way to save me. I was like, that was the worst fucking plan ever. But I wonder, though, like, it is cool, like, even though, obviously, it would have killed him. It's just another example of we're sticking resolutely with physical effects. And I wonder if, at the time, it actually maybe didn't benefit. Like, now we look at it, of course, and we go, oh, physical effects, awesome. Everyone's kind of fully on board, and you think with the Odyssey, blah, blah, blah. This move away, if you're using physical effects.
Look at it compared to the last Starfighter last week.
Exactly. It means it's aged really well. When the whatever you might think of the winch system, when they get pulled out, it's people on fire, real explosions, real effects, looks fantastic. But 98 was a weird time. So it's the same, like we've talked about it before with video games. And if we use vampires as another example, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is now seen as one of the greatest games of all time, and it was released on the PS1. But at the time of release, because it was done in 2D with pixel graphics, it was seen as old hat. And it's like, oh, no, we want to see 3D graphics. We want to see polygonal graphics. Of course, now, if you go back and play 3D PlayStation 1 games, the vast majority of them look like complete ass, whereas Symphony of the Night has aged like a fine wine. And I think it's the same with this. I think at the time, some people might be like, oh, it doesn't have any showy 3D, CG graphics. But of course, in the long run, it means this film has aged wonderfully compared to a lot of movies. Like, if I was to mention a certain Treat Williams movie that you adore.
Oh, my God. Same year.
Exactly. A perfect example. That, and I'm not shitting on that film. We did a podcast.
You are shitting on a film. You're throwing shade at Cracker Jack. You're throwing shade at Deep Rising. Fucking
No. Go back and listen to the podcast. I like Deep Rising, but it's late 90s mid-budget CG, and it takes you out of the film. Even you must admit that film would be better if they had used physical effects.
When you didn't get the big monster reveal at the end, just keep it as the tentacles. It would have been fine. When the big monster reveal comes at the end, it is a bit ropey, to say the least. But I adore that film.
Oh no, it's a fun film. But like I said, I think that film would have benefited, and it would still look better today. It'd be an easier sell if it was all physical effects. And it's one of the reasons, you don't have CG because it's not in a city. you're seeing these characters. It means the film has actually aged really well. Like, it almost looks like it could have been made, especially in 4K, a few years ago. Because there aren't, other than, as you said, the aforementioned lack of mobile phones, there aren't a bunch of scenes where you see like modern cars or people in suits of the time and stuff. You're just seeing these people dressed like it's a Western. So it still looks great to this day. And as I don't think there's any barrier to entry, the term we use so often, when it comes to watching this film. Beyond the fact that the plot is pretty mince, but
the plot seems like it was just made on the day, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, it is what it is. But I thought beyond the prison sequence, I did think the final showdown between Crow and Valak was, I don't know, do you think it was awesome or lame? I'm leaning towards lame, sadly. I thought it was a cool idea. Yeah. He jumps towards the Black Cross. You're like, well, I know how this is going to end. And then he immediately, exactly what you said earlier, for all of the winches and stuff, you're like, dude, just take out the roof. He does that at the end of the film and he's immediately dead.
Yeah. He could have done that so many times.
So many times. So yeah, a bit of a disappointment, especially when it was followed by a bad boner joke. But before we wrap this up and move on to Rob's take, I did get, I'm not sure if you would have got the same thing, I do enjoy my unofficial Amazon double features. So if you watch a movie on Amazon...
it gives you a recommendation.
Well, it doesn't give you a recommendation, it just goes straight into the next film.
Oh, I turned that off. It doesn't go straight into
I haven't turned that off. So I quite enjoy the fact that I'll be watching a film. I'm like, what are they going to show me next? And it went straight into the first Nightmare on Elm Street film. And I was like, that is a pretty cool double feature. Although I know we did it on the podcast, and I know I love that film. Watching just the first 10 minutes without kind of building up to the whole Freddy thing, the acting in that film is complete ass now.
Yeah,
it's so bad. Johnny Depp's terrible. He's even admitted to it.
But we said that when we watched the film, when we did the podcast.
It's tough going. Yeah. But I almost, if it wasn't so late, I would have been like, I might just watch fucking Nightmare on Elm Street now. Anyway. Have you already done your Rob's take? Or
no. The winch.
The winch. It's fair enough. No, I totally get it. As much as I love the winch, I also understand where you're coming from with the winch. Favorite scene?
For me, it's as much as I said they were shit, it's the motel massacre. You know, you have Valak tearing through the motel like he's a supernatural wrecking ball. It's like peak Carpenter carnage. The doors are getting smashed, bodies are getting flung, hunters are getting shredded. It's brutal, it's fast, and it sets the tone for the rest of the film. But you don't really get that tone in the rest of the film. It's the moment you realize the hunters are hilariously outmatched and the vampires are playing on nightmare difficulty. You know? Yeah, it's like real life Bloodborne.
Yeah, Bloodborne, when you try and play it for if you've been dropped into like the 5th hour of Bloodborne and you've never played it before and you're just like, what the fuck's going on? And you're just dead immediately. That is the correct answer. I could say like the initial team house infiltration, which is pretty cool. The way they get out the van and you think, oh, they might be badasses. And then you start thinking they might be shit. But that whole sequence when they use the kind of metal pikes and the winch system and all that jazz, I do think that's fun. But the scene that got me, that really made me think, oh, this might actually be a movie now, rewatching it in 2026, was Valak's attack on the motel. So you get the completely unnecessary tits. There are so many tits in that opening sequence. Yeah. Not only are they prostitutes, we're going to have them all take their top off, despite the fact that it's 98, I would say in traditional 80s fashion. And then Valak shows, and when he does, and he takes out the whole team, it is genuinely surprising. And as I said, the only thing that I really think could have made it better, beyond maybe, toning down the weird soft cuts between sequences, is having a big name get killed there, or a bigger name than the ones we've already mentioned. But that is the correct answer. Oscar season, in which we hand out 3 Oscars and 3 Razzies and categories about choosing.
Do we not do alternate titles first? Am I wrong?
You are wrong. Yeah, we'll do that.
Apologies.
Afterwards.
Do you know what? I question you so much. I do apologize.
No, it's fine. Most of the time you're right, so there's no problem. The Oscar for timeless looks, I should say, go to James Woods and Daniel Baldwin. Like I said, this movie is set in 1998. The fashion could have been rough. I think they both look genuinely super cool in this film. The Oscar for best vampire killing goes to The Hunters. I know you have issues with them, but I like the big metal stakes. I like the guns, I like the winch system. I like the fact that they're genuinely hard to kill. I think that's really cool. And 3, the Oscar for best looking... wait, where am I going? Oh, best looking scared and mentally vulnerable female goes to Cheryl Lee. Jesus Christ, I took a long time to get that out. She doesn't get much to do in this movie, but what she does, nobody does it better.
For me, it's the Oscar for the best I'm too old for this performance goes to James Woods. I just think he might be a little old for the character he's playing.
I think it benefits that he's looked like 50 forever, so I think he gets rid of it.
The Oscar for giving us the best desert gothic vibes goes to John Carpenter.
Mhm.
And finally, the Oscar for the best villain entrance is Valak. His entrance is pretty spot on.
Yeah. The fact that, like you said, he's like, it looks like he's going down on Cheryl Lee, and then he just goes in and kills everyone. You're just like, all right, his vampire intros go, dude. That's pretty badass. And as I said, I had all the doubt in the world. I'm just like, he's not going to be able to pull this off. Like, nah, he's good. He's genuinely good in this film. The Razzie for poorly established list goes to this movie. We still don't know how many rules there are or whether any of them are relevant, but it exists somewhere. The Razzie for worst dick jokes go to James Woods. I'm not sure if it's his problem or John Carpenter.
Oh, it's his problem. It is 100% James Woods.
Yeah, I think it probably is James Woods' problem. I hate those jokes, and I hate the fact that the movie ends on it. And the Razzie for biggest waste of talent goes to the early death of Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. When I saw him in this film, as I said, I couldn't remember the fact that the whole team got killed off. I was like, awesome. He's going to get like his cool little no, he's dead. I think, like you said, I think he gets like maybe one line in the whole film. And then
I don't even remember how he died. It was just a mix of flesh being ripped apart.
Yeah, that's the thing. He doesn't even get a cool death. There's one cool death where he gets chopped in half by his hands.
As Mark Boone Jr.
Yeah. And then the rest of it is just people dead. I literally, same as you. I know he died in that room by the fact that he doesn't get back in the fucking bus, but I have no idea how he died.
Nope. For me, the Razzie for the worst vampire hunting crew goes to Jack Crow's team.
Mm-hmm.
The Razzie for the worst workplace safety is the winch system, because you've got to go out and get it and go back in and give it to them. By the time you've done that, all the vampires have attacked, and we've already established
it's thematically cool but poorly conceived. I think it's fair to say.
I couldn't even get over it being cool. It was just poorly.
Well, if you open with that, yeah, I see what you mean.
The Razzie for the worst tactical decision goes to Jack's cross rescue.
That'll do. Yeah, and that is correct. He clearly died in the impact. He should have been dead. That dummy was dead, if that makes any sense. Any alternative titles?
This is funny because I called you up on it. No.
There is. There definitely is, because there's the whole...
vampires or John Carpenter's vampires. It's still the same.
I've always known it as John Carpenter's vampires, and if you look on like Wikipedia, it says vampires. If you go onto Amazon, it says John Carpenter's vampires. It seems to be nobody can make their mind up, but I can imagine it depends on what copy of the DVD you got.
Yeah,
so it is what it is. But I wouldn't be surprised if they leaned into John Carpenter's vampires in the same way they had Lee Cronin's Mummy, because they're just like, dude, if you type in vampire on Google, this film's never going to come up. There's too much on vampires. Honestly, and maybe we'll get to this in facts, I wouldn't be surprised if it was initially called vampires, but they were like, dude, the internet is becoming a thing, and if we type in vampires, this film's not going to come up. It's just going to be vampires.
I don't know. I think you're just obsessing with the fact that a lot of his films are John Carpenter's this or John Carpenter's that. But I think that's the films he's created himself. He directed this for a studio.
But I can't think of another film where, if you went onto Amazon or like certain copies of DVDs where it would be titled John. Like, I read a review for this film and they referenced the fact that it's pretty ballsy to have and this was back in like 2000. Pretty ballsy to have the title of the film as being John Carpenter's Vampires. Like I said, I think this is the same as Lee Cronin's The Mummy. I don't think it's just, it just happens to be made by John Carpenter. They're selling it as his film. But anyway,
it turns out I didn't go down far enough. We do have two.
Okay.
Just to get away from this fucking John Carpenter speak as well. We've said his name like 500 times. Japan, Vampire, The Last Holy War.
Well, it obviously worked out there. It was a huge hit in Japan.
Yep. And Taiwan, V-shaped commando unit.
That's not so good. Not so good. It's quite funny, but it's not very good. Any facts of this film?
Yep. Despite being a horror movie, John Carpenter stated on the audio commentary that he did this movie because it closely resembled a Western.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Campbell was Carpenter's first choice to play Montoya.
Oh, dude, yeah, that would have been awesome. That's a great shout.
For this film,
that's a really good. We get this every so often when you get like casting alternatives. That's a really good one.
Yeah. For this film, Carpenter wanted to stay away from the stereotype of gothic vampires and wanted to make his vampires savages and not be brooding loneliness in their existence. They're too busy ripping and tearing humans apart.
That's fair enough, but Valak does look like your kind of quintessential gothic vampire, maybe because he's quite a handsome dude as well. He looks like a classically gothic vampire, but he doesn't act the part, I think.
Alec Baldwin had briefly accepted the role of Montoya before declining it early into pre-production and passing it on to his brother Daniel. Carpenter had not seen any of Daniel Baldwin's work and had the actor read for him.
I mean, in fairness, he does, like, if you want someone who if you can't get Alec Baldwin, you want someone who looks, and let's be clear, sounds just like Alec Baldwin, yeah, get this dude, because his voice is so similar as well.
Back when Russell Mulcahy was attached to direct, one possible idea was that the film would take place in the distant future, where a decent amount of the human population has been turned into vampires, and vampire hunters are as abundant as police officers. The vampire hunters would have used futuristic high-tech gadgets and equipment to hunt down the vampires who were plotting to take over the world by transforming the Pope into one of them. Dolph Lundgren was slated to play protagonist Jack Crow, while Willem Dafoe was being eyed to play the vampire antagonist Valak. I would fucking watch that film.
I was going to say, the more you said, the more I liked it. I was just like, dude, this sounds pretty awesome. I don't even want it to replace this film. I'd quite happily just also have that film, if that's okay.
You just don't call it vampires. I don't know, get Russell McKay back. Have that. That fucking sounded awesome.
You can't have Russell McKay's vampires, though. That doesn't work.
No, that's what I mean. Just get...
No, you can't. No, fuck that. You can't. If you can have fucking Lee Cronin's The Mummy, you can have that. Like, there is literally no bar anymore after Lee Cronin's Mummy. Nobody knows who fucking Lee Cronin is. So, yeah, if Lee Cronin can have his Lee Cronin's The Mummy, it's like, if I made a feature film, I'm having Liam Pritchard's Vampires from the Future.
The man that was carjacked. Yeah, obviously I wouldn't have recognized him.
Yeah, oh god, well, he looked a little bit like the guy from Jewel, but I don't think it's him.
No, it's not. It's fucking Frank Darabont.
Oh shit!
Yes.
Yeah.
Writer of The Shawshank, The Mist, The Green Mile, the creator of The Walking Dead, Frank Darabont.
Yeah, he's famous for like most of the most successful Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know that was him at all. No. I just thought maybe it was the mustache or something that he looked a little bit like.
It's because he's got hair.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Make a change. Oh, sorry. My apologies. Hug to the Future, remake, sequel, Let It Die, Leave Well Alone. So you mentioned the fact that there were already, and I'm doing the air quotes here, sequels. Obviously, nothing to do with John Carpenter, straight to DVD nonsense starring John Bon Jovi of all people. I mentioned it earlier. I like the idea of Crow hunting down Katrina and Montoya, but then working with them, and kind of like they've got vampire powers. They have this back and forth. It's like, is he going to kill them? Are they going to kill him? But they have to work together. I'm just like, that's pretty cool. Get the whole gang back together. But you could also Let It Die, of course. But I enjoyed this so much. Like I want a sequel. I just don't want the sequels that exist. That's all.
I think leave it alone. Don't let it die. Just leave it alone. I had fun with it. I'll probably have fun with it again. So just leave it alone.
Sorry, Let It Die was harsh. I don't Let It Die. I genuinely enjoyed this film. So either leave well alone or have this, a genuine sequel. Because we have had examples of that before, where you have a movie, it gets a bunch of crappy straight to DVD sequels, then those are duly ignored, and then you get a proper sequel kind of thing. So
Universal Soldier.
Universal Soldier is a perfect example, although the sequels to that, even the quote-unquote proper sequels, were still kind of shit.
I mean, you had the two made-for-TV ones, Brothers in Arms and another one, which were released like the year after. Then you had Universal Soldier: The Return, which was a decent sequel to the original, but when it made Luke Devereaux human again. Apparently they could reverse the syndrome.
Classic.
And then you had those weird 2012 onward ones where it completely... just used basically his name is Luke Devereaux and he's now, but it was set in like Chernobyl of all places and things like that. It was weird.
Yeah, as I said, not fantastic sequels, but none of these went to the cinema. I don't think. But anyways, that's the point. So make a change. If you're going to make one change to make this movie better, what would it be? I mean, for me, I could easily say, refine the narrative and stuff. But the only thing that genuinely upset this movie is I'd lose the dick jokes. Get rid of the dick jokes. I hated them.
For me, it was give the hunters actual competence.
They're look at you with your proper answer.
They're hopeless. It becomes distracting. I mean, even one moment of genuine professionalism, a coordinated takedown, a smart tactic, anything, the film's stakes would feel sharper. But oh my God, it was just, I couldn't get over it. I couldn't look past the fucking hunting team.
No, they are absolutely rubbish, but they're not quite rubbish enough for it to be funny. They're just weirdly rubbish. That's the strange thing. In terms of video games, surprisingly, there wasn't a video game for this. You feel like it'd be kind of perfect for a video game, but maybe it wasn't quite successful enough. So I've got two options here. One of them, and this is based off the initial infiltration. If we go on the idea that the teams are theoretically competent. If you were a team, you could take over a team from like another company. If you were like the European team or you were the South American team or something, and basically I'd go the Ubisoft Rainbow Six Siege way.
Okay.
So the idea like the vampires are locked in. You've got to get through the wall, so you can like shoot your way through the walls and stuff. But there's a timer, and then once it gets light, the game kind of flips, and all of a sudden the vampires are so much more powerful than you, and you have to survive kind of thing, and you have a back and forth. Either that, or if you wanted to go larger scale, and I know it's a game a lot of people don't like. I really liked Redfall by Arcane Austin. It was a massive flop. It was set in Maine. It was an Xbox exclusive, this generation as well. And basically, it's like you're in small town Maine, and vampires are taking over the town. And you and a team of it's a team of 3, I think, basically work together to take out all the vampires. And I just played it on my own. I didn't even bother playing with other people. And I know it doesn't quite all come together, but I love the mood. I love the vibe. And I ended up playing the entire game. It's just one of those ones where I was just like, I get it. It's a bit disappointing, but maybe my expectations were lowered. Yeah. Kind of like with, to go back to Xbox again, Crackdown 3. Everyone shot on Crackdown 3. And I played it. I was just like, it just feels like Crackdown. And I like Crackdown. But I'd either go with small scale Rainbow Six Siege or big scale Redfall.
I was looking at like Dusty Frontier Town, undead hordes, improvised weapons, things like that. It's Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare again for me.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's the correct answer. That's 100% the correct answer. Yeah, open world, vampires everywhere. Yeah. But to be honest, if you use that template, you could almost go back to the alternative version of this film where it's set in the near future in a dystopian world and you're playing Dolph Lundgren.
Do you know what that sounds like to me as well? Western stuff. It's fucking Paul Bettany's Priest, that film.
Yeah, only, let's be clear, hopefully better than Paul Bettany's Priest.
All right, take a step back.
Are you a fan of Paul Bettany's Priest?
Well, I'm not a massive fan.
Okay, there we go.
I am a fan of the 2 films he did randomly, like that year. Just came out of nowhere. Paul Bettany, he did Legion, where he was an angel fighting demons and stuff.
I watched that as well. Yeah. Totally forgettable as well.
And then he did Priest. And it was like, what the fuck is Paul Bettany trying to do? But nobody then wanted him to be an action hero after that. So like,
because he made 2 pretty bad moves.
I like them though. I'll watch them again. Fucking randomly, Legion ended up having some weird semi-sequel Sci-Fi Channel TV show set 30 years later when Jeep is now older.
Just you say Jeep, like I've seen the film and I have no idea what a Jeep is.
It was that Lucas kid from Fast and Furious 3, the one with the Texas drawl.
Oh yeah. I remember him. Yeah. He's quite likable in Fast and Furious 3. Actually, in fairness,
he was Jeep in. He was Dennis Quaid's kid in Legion.
It was that weird era though when they tried to take character actors and turn them into action stars, because I think people look back maybe 10 years earlier and they're just like, what Nicolas Cage did. People forget it was a surprise when Nicolas Cage suddenly turned out fucking 3 of the greatest action movies of all time back to back. Do you remember oh god, was it called Battlefield LA or something like that?
Yeah, with Aaron Eckhart. Yeah,
that felt like he was in this. I know it wasn't as high concept. It wasn't like fancy, but it was a big sci-fi movie. And they're just like, let's see if like Aaron Eckhart works in an action movie. And just like, I think he was in a Frankenstein movie as well, wasn't he? Like a action
Frankenstein. That was awful. That was from the same writer that gave us Underworld.
Oh yeah, well, Underworld is Underworld's not brilliant, but it's better, and plus it helps that it's got Kate Beckinsale wearing all that. Like, Jesus Christ, she's so hot.
Anyway, you've just fallen off the seat there, haven't you? Jesus.
Kate Beckinsale in 2004. Jesus Christ, what an absolute stunner. IMDb, so it's where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review. Before we do that, I try and guess how many written reviews there are for this movie.
You're never gonna get it.
Is it low?
You're never gonna get it. That's all I'm saying.
Just give me the hint. Is it lower than I think or higher than I think?
Oh, it's higher than you think.
Oh, see, we get these every so often. All right, 272.
495.
Dude, I thought 272 was ludicrously high. That is so high for this movie.
You're never gonna get it.
No, I would have never get 400. we get these every so often where most films kind of fall within, your kind of idea of how popular that film is. And then you just get a complete left field choice, like, nearly 500 people feeling compelled to write a review for John Carpenter's Vampires. Mental. Of the 400 plus, 10 I bet you loads of people like this film. 42.
Oh, 40.
Oh, that's pretty close. I thought it'd be a high percentage, though.
Right, so this this one was written in January 2006, titled James Woods.
Yeah, well, I'm on board. I'm on board already. I love James Woods in this film.
James Woods.
I think I just like James Woods, just to be clear. Not as a person, terrible person, but great actor.
James Woods. Need I say anything else? Okay, this isn't the greatest movie, but it oozes cool. The vampires in it aren't prissy romantic types or gothic morons either. They're vicious bastards who would make the vampires in Blade look like wusses. The action's good, the storyline's solid, but it's nothing new. It's just good fun. It's in my opinion that in Carpenter's old age, he's become too tired and cynical to make films that audiences or critics would find to be works or masterpieces. For example, his apocalyptic 3, Thing, Prince of Darkness, Mouth of Madness. No, he's instead content with making sarcastic films that lampoon mainstream movies. Ghosts of Mars is much like vampires in this way. Carpenter's tired, takes his films at face value, and laughs at how they mock the average person's taste for the mainstream.
I quite enjoy these movies. You get these 10-star reviews every so often where people are obviously keen to make a point. So they're like, this is going down as 10. But then the first thing they do is go like, well, it's not that good. But, it's like, well, you basically said like a 3-star review. That's what that read like. But a 10. Fair enough. Sorry, I keep going back between a 5-point scale and a 10-point scale. But I agree with some of the stuff he said there, even if he's got a little bit carried away. 1-star reviews, I don't think there's going to be that many.
What was your 10-star guess again?
42, sorry.
42. Yeah, spot on.
I thought you said it's 40.
No, 42 for 1 stars. Well done, you got it.
Oh, there we go. Oh, so they almost the exact same amount.
Oh, almost the exact same amount.
Yeah. I thought on it, right, if I'm real talk, if you'd let me go through the process, I would have guessed lower. I didn't think there would be that many 1-star reviews. So.
I was just like the fact you guessed 42 and that was the 1 stars. I had to
that's
give it
crazy.
To you. Yeah. Right, so this one was released November 98.
Oh, hot off the press.
Yeah. Titled Fails on All Fronts.
Ooh.
It is possible I missed the point, but I feel Carpenter missed the mark as a horror movie and as a vampire movie. Although there is plenty of gore, the movie is not scary. Violence for the sake of pure joy in violence becomes insane. Oh, sorry, inane. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Sorry. Yeah. Well, that's one of the criticisms you could point in this film we did mention earlier is the fact that it isn't particularly scary. Beyond the opening intro, the intro.
I don't think it was meant to be scary, though.
I don't think so either. They said it's a pulpy Western above all else. Which leads to our own scores and recommendations. I think we're going to be on the same page again here. Mine is a 3 and a yes. I think it's one of those films that a lot of people just kind of assume is going to be lesser Carpenter, but as I said, not top tier, but it's totally watchable. And for its flaws, it's, I don't think that detracts from what a fun movie this is back to front. So yeah, some great performances, handful of memorable characters, great setting, 3 stars. Yes, from me.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said last week about Last Starfighter. It's a 3 and a yes. I would.
Although this doesn't have those kind of like caveats where you're just like, oh, there's an issue here.
Oh no, I'd highly recommend this film. It's a good film to watch, and it's a decent 3-star movie. Yeah,
I prefer this to Last Starfighter. Like, it's the problem with the system, isn't it? It's like if I was going to be like, I'd give the Last Starfighter 6 out of 10, but I'd give this 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, we get this episode, it's like a 3 stars, a weird review where you can be like, oh, it's a 3-star film, but it was kind of forgettable. This is a 3-star film, which I actually found really fun, but far too many faults to go above that. So, before we move on to my choice for next week, do you have this week's quiz, sir?
I do. After last week's debacle about whose quiz it was, I have the
was
quiz.
My bad.
Right, so number 1 for the poor man's toes.
Mm-hmm.
Your clue is, sir, a plane full of dangerous convicts is hijacked mid-flight while the only hope for survival comes from a golden retriver with elite sporting skills who somehow becomes the most competent passenger on board.
I mean, I knew the answer like straight away, but I was like, I want to hear the rest of this.
Yeah.
Con Airbud.
I've kind of put that one together and said that he was on the plane this time.
Yeah, listen, big fan of it. Con Airbud, fantastic.
A young drifter is pulled into a roaming vampire clan just as a man awakens in a shifting artificial metropolis controlled by shadowy beings who rewrite a reality like a nightmare puzzle.
So
We've done both of these films.
The second one is Dark. What the hell's it called? Not Dark Zone. Dark.
It's not Dark Town. It's not
Dark Empire. Dark City.
Burrow.
Dark City.
Yep.
So Dark City, and the first part again. So Near Dark City.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Near Dark City.
Yeah. Oh, dude, spot on.
There we go.
Right, let's see if I can catch.
It was actually the second. But bizarrely, you'd think I get, because I love Near Dark. It was actually, I got Dark City before I got Near Dark. So strange.
Right, a supernatural battle between good and evil unfolds across a plague-ravaged America, forcing them to confront destiny, danger, and the end of the world, whilst a group of kids set out on a journey of friendship and self-discovery.
Ooh.
This is a toughie.
Oh, that is a toughie. So, sorry, can you read the first part again?
Yeah. A supernatural battle between good and evil unfolds across a plague-ravaged America.
Good versus evil. See, I'm thinking like The Stand or something like that.
Taps his nose, winner.
Oh, so it is The Stand. The Stand by Me?
The Stand by Me, 3 out of 3. Oh, there you go. Boom. I haven't
that was
made
good.
Well.
You're kind of mixing your medicine there with Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah.
I totally forgot The Stand was, because I was like, that sounds like The Stand, but I was like, The Stand is a TV show, but it was a movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was it was a long old movie, wasn't it?
Was it made for TV movie?
No, it was one of these weird. I don't know if it was made for TV. It was one of these weird ones where they released them in the 90s along with It and Tommy Knockers.
Because I would consider it made for TV, but I consider Tommy Knockers cinematic. Bizarre. I might be getting that wrong, but that's how I think
Tommy Knockers was more. I think that felt like a sci-fi TV movie. But this was the same. Fuck me, he's such a good actor.
I've never seen it. Bizarre. I mean, I love the book, but I've never seen the TV show. The only thing,
this is really upsetting me. He was Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. Why have I forgotten his name?
I had it then. Gary Sinise.
Gary Sinise. Yeah, Gary Sinise was one of the main guys in The Stand.
Gary Sinise is fantastic. He's not in much anymore, but he really had a moment. And around this movie, in and around 98, remember he was in like Ransom and stuff?
Yeah, it was self-imposed to look after...
Give me back my son! Sorry, I can't say Ransom without saying that.
Self-imposed to look after his wife.
Oh, of course.
Whilst
and it sounds like he's
working
like
on his charity.
Sweetheart. Yeah, he sounds like an absolute sweetheart.
He's got like a homes for veterans charity where they build homes for veterans, so...
Yeah. He just sounds like the nicest guy in the world. So, well done, Gary Sinise, for being fucking awesome and a great actor to boot. Next week is my choice. The year is 2003.
Oh, I was going to say we're going recent, but that's not recent.
We are in trouble after this in terms of directors and actors. So I'm like,
okay, 2003.
Okay, what I'm going to say is, right, this is a big budget movie, and it is one of my favorite movies that is objectively massively flawed. So this is hugely flawed, 2003.
Well, thankfully, Transformers was 2007, so I'm going to watch that shit again.
But it's a better movie. It's definitely a better movie than Transformers. It's got loads of problems, but it also has some of the greatest set pieces of the decade.
Yeah, I can't.
All right, I'm going to give you this really is a supporting character, Monica Bellucci. She's probably like 12th listed in this film, but because it's Monica Bellucci, you tend to remember her.
Yeah, if it's 2003 as Monica Bellucci, are we doing a Matrix sequel?
We are doing a Matrix sequel. We're doing The Matrix Reloaded specifically.
Oh, okay.
So Revelations was 2004, I believe, and Revelations is even more flawed. Although,
I don't think I want to do the one where he becomes Jesus. Let's just do this one.
Well, yeah, the third one has even more problems, and he does become Jesus. But it, like with all the Matrix movies, other than the last one, which I actually thought was a better movie, but the set pieces were complete ass. It has unbelievable moments. So the attack on Zion to this day still looks fantastic, and the fight with Agent Smith and the chubby Rain at the end, there's nothing else like it. It looks amazing. This film has obviously the infamous highway chase at the end of the film, almost worth the price of admission alone, where they literally built a highway for the movie. But it also has the cave scene, the cave rave, which gives you an idea of how bad this film can get. So the highs of this film are incredibly high. The lows are oh so low. So I think it's going to be a really interesting movie to talk about, because I suspect we'll probably fall around the same place. In terms of, the great stuff is great, the bad stuff is bad. How do we feel about the movie in 2026? So I think it's going to be interesting, because we redid, for those interested, we've obviously already covered The Matrix, and that film has aged amazingly well, like unbelievable. It's a flat out balls to wall 5-star movie. And if anything, watching it critically, it made me appreciate it even more. In the same way as we did with, say, Jaws. Like I like Jaws growing up, watched it for the podcast. I was like, no, this, I really get it now why it's a masterpiece. I don't think either of us are going to come away from Matrix Reloaded and go, do you know what? This is a 5-star movie.
We did the Matrix with Dave. I may ask if he wants to come back and join us for Reloaded because he's a big Matrix fan as well, like you. So it might be worth seeing what he thinks about it.
Yeah, and I said, I was a massive. I remember at the time when this came out, like the two big franchises, well, the three big franchises all run at the same time, were Star Wars, this, and Lord of the Rings. And Star Wars obviously took precedence because I was a Star Wars kid, but I was just like, if you'd given me the option to watch the Matrix sequels or the Lord of the Rings sequels at the time, I don't think I would have even had to think about it. I was watching the Matrix.
This was my first experience of the cinema being absolutely rammed before you could book tickets online or whatever, and it was still the era where you go and queue up, and it was being absolutely rammed, and I sat right at the top. Like the stairs would always go right to the back, and you'd have those 3 seats in front of the stairs.
Yeah.
Me and 2 friends in those seats.
That is up in the bleachers.
Yeah.
Up in the gods. So this is on Amazon Prime at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's running at 4K, so I suspect it's going to look great. I'll be interested to see how the famous Neo versus 1,000 Agent Smiths work, because that didn't look quite right.
No, it was a bit ropey, yeah.
But it was incredibly ambitious. So, that's we'll get into this next week, but we've talked about before, like, you don't want directors going back and changing movies, but that would be a perfect example where if you could go back and be like, let's throw like a couple of million at this, or even, I hate to say this, AI, if you could just tidy up their faces, it would make the scene work, but it would just make it better. It wouldn't lose any of its artistic integrity. It would just look bad. The other example we used was Tron Legacy. Just tidy up Jeff Bridges' young person face, because it's that film. For 2010, 99.9% of that movie looks out of this world. And then as soon as young Jeff Bridges walks on screen, you're like, oh, I kind of have to jump out of a window now. It looks that bad. But anyway, we'll get to it next week. That has been 1998's Vampires, a genuinely pleasant surprise. I think we can both agree. It's a good choice there. Yeah. Do join us next week for 2003's Matrix Reloaded. Anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah. So we had an email from Steve Richardson, whose Navy SEALs was his fault. So he's messaging us back now. He said, great episode of Navy SEALs. And you chose the better of the two, Navy SEALs or Delta Force. The odd thing with Navy SEALs, can't recall if you caught this, is that it was written by a former SEAL, Chuck Farrar. So you can see the odd glimpse of authenticity, the halo, the boat boarding, the gear, and some of their movement. But then it all goes off the rails when Hawkins wakes up from his stupor. We didn't mention that, so that's a good piece of information.
It explains a lot, yeah.
Oh, and Ramos, again, couldn't tell you who Ramos is, but Ramos does get one great scene when he hip fires a 50 cal into a building towards the end. I would have gone 3 out of 5 myself. Hard to recommend, as I know it's 80% nostalgia, but Bane tried his best.
Yeah, if somebody, you said, especially if you have nostalgia of that film and you wanted to give it 3 stars, I'm not going to try and talk you off that hill. I couldn't get to 3 stars of that film. It just had too many problems. Yeah, but it has good moments. Like you said, I think we said at the time, a surprisingly fun 2-star movie.
Yeah.
As far as, but anyway, thanks for the feedback, dude. All right, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!